Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, where you receive real and authentic updates about the Iraqi dinar. If you want to stay informed with moment-by-moment developments, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. In today's analysis, we're going to take a careful and grounded look at a statement that has been circulating within the Iraqi dinar community. The claim suggests that exchange rates have been appearing and disappearing on certain screens, and that systems are being prepared to load new currencies onto what are described as redemption center platforms. It also implies that once these updates are complete, the rates available could be surprising or significantly different from what is currently known. As always, our goal here is not to dismiss or promote such claims outright, but to analyze them through the lens of real-world financial systems, central banking practices, and the broader economic environment in Iraq. By doing this, we can better understand what may be plausible, what remains speculative, and what it all means for those who follow the Iraqi dinar closely. To begin, let's address the idea of exchange rates appearing on and off screens. In global finance, currency exchange rates are not randomly displayed or hidden in isolated systems. They are determined through a combination of official central bank policies and real-time foreign exchange markets. In Iraq's case, the official exchange rate of the Iraqi dinar is managed by the Central Bank of Iraq, which sets a benchmark rate and conducts currency auctions to maintain stability. Rates that appear in legitimate systems, such as banking platforms, trading terminals, or international financial networks, are typically synchronized and consistent across institutions. Temporary fluctuations can occur in live trading environments, but these are driven by supply and demand dynamics, not by secret or intermittent system updates. Therefore, when we hear about rates going on and off screens, it's important to interpret that cautiously. It could refer to internal testing environments, speculative observations, or misunderstandings of how financial data systems operate. Now let's consider the second part of the statement, which mentions that new currencies are being prepared for loading onto redemption center screens. This idea introduces a concept that is often discussed in speculative circles, the notion of redemption centers, offering special exchange opportunities outside of traditional banking systems. In reality, currency exchanges are conducted through licensed financial institutions such as banks, exchange companies, and authorized dealers. These institutions operate within strict regulatory frameworks that ensure transparency, anti-money laundering compliance, and consistency with international financial standards. There is no publicly verified evidence that separate redemption centers exist where individuals can access exclusive or significantly different exchange rates. That said, financial systems do undergo updates and upgrades. Banks and central institutions regularly update their software, integrate new currencies, and improve their infrastructure to align with global standards such as SPOL-IFT messaging systems or digital payment platforms. If there are references to loading currencies, it is possible that this relates to routine system maintenance or the integration of new financial technologies, rather than a sudden shift in exchange value. Another important aspect to analyze is the suggestion that people will be amazed at the rates they are able to get. This is where expectations need to be carefully managed. Exchange rates are fundamentally tied to a country's economic strength, including factors such as GDP growth, oil revenues, inflation levels, political stability, and monetary policy. For Iraq, the dinar's value has historically been influenced by its oil-dependent economy and the government's efforts to maintain exchange rate stability. While there have been discussions over the years about currency reform, redenomination, or adjustments to the exchange rate, any significant change would require a coordinated and transparent announcement from the Central Bank of Iraq and relevant government authorities. A sudden and dramatic increase in exchange rates without corresponding economic fundamentals would be highly unlikely in a modern financial system. Central banks prioritize stability and predictability, as sharp and unexpected changes can disrupt trade, investment, and overall economic confidence. From a short-term perspective, what does this type of news mean for Iraqi dinar observers? In the immediate term, it highlights the importance of staying grounded and relying on verified information. Rumors about system changes or hidden rates can create excitement, but they do not necessarily reflect actual policy decisions or market realities. Short-term movements in the dinar are more likely to be influenced by official announcements, oil price trends, and fiscal policy decisions rather than behind-the-scenes technical updates. In the long term, however, there are meaningful developments worth watching. Iraq has been working on economic reforms aimed at diversifying its economy, improving financial transparency, and strengthening its banking sector. These efforts include modernizing payment systems, enhancing regulatory frameworks, and increasing integration with international financial institutions. If these reforms continue successfully, they could contribute to gradual improvements in the Iraqi dinar stability and credibility. Over time, a stronger and more diversified economy could support a more resilient currency. However, this process is typically gradual and requires sustained policy implementation, not sudden or secretive changes. It's also worth noting that discussions about new rates sometimes stem from misunderstandings about currency redenomination. In some cases, countries restructure their currency by removing zeros or issuing new banknotes. This does not increase the real value of the currency. Rather, it simplifies transactions and accounting. If Iraq were to pursue such a policy, it would be clearly communicated and carefully managed to avoid confusion. Another factor to consider is the role of global financial markets. The Iraqi dinar is not freely traded on all major forex platforms, which means its exchange rate is more controlled compared to fully floating currencies. Any move toward greater convertibility or market-based pricing would be a significant step, but it would also require strong economic fundamentals and institutional readiness. For viewers who are following these developments, the key takeaway is to separate verifiable economic progress from speculative narratives. While it is entirely reasonable to be interested in potential changes to the Iraqi dinar, it is equally important to base expectations on credible data and official sources. In practical terms, if there were to be any major change in exchange rates, it would likely be accompanied by formal announcements, updates from financial institutions, and widespread media coverage. Banks and exchange services would adjust their rates accordingly, and the process would be transparent and accessible through normal financial channels. The idea of exclusive access to unusually high rates through specialized centers does not align with how modern financial systems operate. Currency exchange is a regulated activity, and rates are determined within a structured and competitive environment. At the same time, it's understandable why such narratives gain attention. The Iraqi dinar has been a topic of long-term interest for many individuals, and the possibility of significant change naturally attracts curiosity. However, maintaining a balanced perspective helps ensure that decisions are made based on facts rather than speculation. As we look ahead, the most important indicators to watch include Iraq's economic reforms, fiscal policies, oil market performance, and the actions of the central bank. These factors will provide a clearer and more reliable picture of where the dinar may be heading over time. In conclusion, while the statement about rates appearing on screens and new currencies being loaded may reflect certain technical or speculative discussions, there is no confirmed evidence that it signals an imminent or dramatic change in exchange rates. A cautious and analytical approach remains the best way to interpret such information. Thank you for watching. If you value clear, responsible, and fact-based updates on the Iraqi dinar and Iraq's economy, make sure to subscribe to the channel and stay informed. This content is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice.